Hello imaginative people and welcome to Brainstorium. I'm Anna Tizard, award-winning dreampunk and deeply weird fantasy author, and yes, that's me and my fiction that's deeply weird. Let me be your inspiration mystic, here to take your imagination to a whole new world of story ideas using the surrealist word game of Exquisite Corpse. So send me some words through my play page at annatizard.com and hear what happens when they're pulled out of the socks of destiny. Let the games and the story brainstorms begin. This is episode 19 of Brainstorium. Now today I'm going to play the last rounds of Exquisite Corpse for this year. But it's not quite the last show of 2022. I've been busy writing a new short story based on an Exquisite Corpse from the last show, and that's what I'm going to read out in the next show. If you may recall, the rediscovering portcullis. I've been asking myself, what is a rediscovering portcullis? And I think I may know the answer, but it comes in the form of a story and it will need a little bit more time. The whole Exquisite Corpse result was the book-loving teddy bear solved the case of the rediscovering portcullis, with words from Paul Thomas, Fraser Armitage, Joseph Clark and Paul Benfield. Will it be an ordinary teddy bear that solves the case, or a slightly more dangerous version of a bear? I'm afraid you will have to wait until the next show to find out. Now, I was originally thinking of reading out the first part today and then the second part next time, but I just thought, no, then you'll have to wait 2 whole weeks to hear the second part of the story, and that's no good. So I thought, why not just do the last games today and then dedicate the Christmas show to one full story. And yes, it really will be the Christmas show. It will actually be the Christmas Eve show on the 24th. That is 2 weeks from the day that this podcast show comes out. I just can't believe how time passes. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to do my best to put a little bit of coziness in the story, maybe a little touch of snow, perhaps a bit of darkness as well, make it a little bit haunting. We'll see. It's still in development, so I'm also looking forward to finding out what on earth I'm going to do with the rediscovering portcullis. Now, before we get on with the story games today, I just wanted to come back briefly to my writing news, because I mentioned in the last show that I'm now working on a longer piece about a ghost hunter alongside various Exquisite Corpse inspired stories. I realised after saying this that if you're a regular listener, by now you must be wondering, well, how many short stories does she have? Why don't you just release a book-length collection? Well, I do indeed have more than enough short stories at the moment to release a collection right now if I wanted to, and still have some left over for another book. But in any book that I release, when it's a collection of short stories, I really want them to have an overarching theme and tie them all together. I think if I released what I have right now, it would feel a bit random, and I think it will be worth the wait and the extra effort to gather together the very best stories that I've got under themes that, well, for the most part, they're emerging naturally. I can see some of these themes beginning to form themselves without me really having to do much nudging or make a conscious decision to write under certain themes. And that's how I like it. As a part-time surrealist, as I sometimes like to call myself, it's a big part of my inspiration and my enjoyment of the process as a discovery writer to let the stories do their own thing. to some extent, of course. But also as a reader, I'm conscious of the fact that when you start reading a novel or a novella, you're about to dive into a particular kind of world and a set of characters who you'll be with until the end of that book. You can't quite get that same experience with a collection of short stories because they're all with different characters and situations. But you can reduce any sense of randomness or even disjointedness that you might get from a jumble of very different stories by handpicking the best stories that you can find that tie together under a particular theme. I always feel like whenever you start reading any book, no matter what it is, it's like a promise of certain atmospheres and ideas and experiences. And that promise needs to be fulfilled at the end for the book to be really satisfying. And if you do tie short stories together with a theme, you can still give that sensation of diving into something with some expectations planted in your mind at the beginning that are then going to be fulfilled, with some surprises as well, of course, because I do like my twists. And trust me, only the very best stories will make the cut. So, lots to look forward to in 2023, methinks. And keep listening to the show next year and you'll find out what the themes are going to be. Now I think it's time for today's final games of the year. Bring forth the Socks of Destiny. Now, for those who haven't played Exquisite Corpse before or haven't listened to the show before, the game forms a sentence from randomised words in this order: describing word noun, action, describing word noun. And this is why I have 3 Socks of Destiny, because I jot down on little slips of paper the words that lovely people such as yourself send me through my play page at annatizard.com. Right, let us begin. First describing word is from Michael Clayton. Gelatinous. Okay, what or who is gelatinous? See, this is from Paul Benfield, Calligrapher. I suppose anyone or anything that's gelatinous. What are we gonna do? I just don't know. Anyway, let's see what the action brings us. This is from Alessandro Bozzo. Purchased a special elixir for. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm not going to judge the sentence until I finished it. Okay. We'll make something out of this. Right. Let's see. This is from Parveen. Cantankerous. Okay. And finally, what or who was cantankerous? This is from Joseph Clark. Orangutangus. Have you made up a word there, Joseph? Okay. So an orangutangus, it kind of sounds like an orangutan that dances the tango. That in itself is a rather interesting concept. Okay, so I'm going to read out the whole thing. The gelatinous calligrapher purchased a special elixir for the cantankerous, let's say orangutan, okay? Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know about you, but I think I need some green tea to see if I can get through this frankly ridiculous Exquisite Corpse. There'll be a story idea in there somewhere, I'm sure. I just need a little bit of the old liquid, green liquid. Right. Okay. Well, definitely going to have to be creative with this to make it work. Nothing less than creative for Exquisite Corpse. I mean, that's what you have to do every time. And I'm also reminded of what Mariah said in the last show, which was there may be story ideas just in a few words here and there. We don't necessarily have to solve the grand puzzle that is the entire Exquisite Corpse, although I do love it when I can do that. Okay. I'm looking at the sentence and I'm thinking perhaps we should consider that it's not the calligrapher themselves who is gelatinous, okay? Because that could get sticky. I think it would be a calligrapher who uses a gelatinous type of ink. There's a special kind of ink that she's using. And I do like the action as well, because this is also to do with unusual liquids. So we have got a little bit of synchronicity going on here, because it's purchased a special elixir for the cantankerous orangutan. Are we talking about a special kind of potion here? This reminds me a little bit of the axolotl story, if you remember, where the aging pop star was writing something, a person's name, in blood on a special parchment, and it was meant to create some kind of sorcery, a spell to give her eternal youth, I suppose. But here I think we've got to have a completely different idea. I like the idea of this calligrapher. Of course, I think there's something special about writing, but calligraphy is a completely different form of art, visual art. It's not just the words you're writing, it's how they appear. They're like pictures. So why would a calligrapher be drawing these pictorial decorations of around letters, using a special gelatinous ink? But then they would purchase a special elixir for someone who's cantankerous. Now, maybe because Christmas is coming up, I've got this whole idea. Well, because the calligrapher is purchasing something for someone, so I think it's a Christmas present. Let's just go with this. So her father is not an orangutan. But he's a hairy individual who's cantankerous and grumpy. And she wants to get him something a little bit different. So she'll go into, maybe she goes to a special ink shop. Like this is a world in which calligraphers are common. You know, you can make money out of calligraphy. And she goes into this special shop, and it's run by a witch who has an unusual range of inks behind the counter, including gelatinous ones. What do they do? I wonder if the witch has accidentally sold something a bit special to the calligrapher. I don't know, would it be the gelatinous ink, or is it this special elixir? Where, well, because of course her hairy, cantankerous and grumpy father is also a calligrapher. It's a family of calligraphers. And they get each other inks for Christmas. Don't judge, okay? And she went in there asking for her usual special inks, maybe a gelatinous variety. But then the witch accidentally, gives her something a little bit more expensive, a little bit more special than what she was bargaining for. And they find out later that this elixir can change metal into gold or something like that. Interesting. Or better, when you write with it, you can make things come true. Oh my goodness. That could be quite dangerous if we've got someone who's cantankerous. He might write a rude note or something to someone. And all chaos could break loose. You don't know what could happen. He could be annoyed by their noisy neighbours and write a really rude note, saying, well, rather than saying, please could you keep the noise down, you will keep the noise down because blah blah blah, and then it happens and they can't help themselves. There's all sorts of things that you could use this for. I like the idea of calligraphers. I need to know more about calligraphy, but for now I think it's time for another Exquisite Corpse. Let's just see if we can get a better story than that. So this is from Mariah, and it's simply the word good. Okay, let's get a noun. This is from Anonymous. It is, oh, I've just torn it by accident. Sorry, Anonymous. Huge fluffy cat. Oh, that's a lot of description. So the good, huge fluffy cat. Okay. Are we dealing with a big cat here, or just a domestic fluffy in a high wind? This is from Joseph Clark. Answered the pleas of. It's interesting. So this is from Athena. Dark. Let us see what is going to happen next. Who is dark? This is from Mariah again. This is rain. Dark rain. Oh wow, that's really unusual. Let me just read the whole thing out. The good, huge fluffy cat answered the pleas of the dark rain. Oh wow. I can't help but wonder, what would rain ever need to plead for? To fall from the sky? It has this whole sentence has this strange atmosphere about it. A cat who answers to the weather, pleading weather. A sort of godlike cat who looks out at the sky and sees what's going on. Is this why he's so big and fluffy? Because he needs to survive high winds? I'm imagining a mountain cat living high up. And the dark rain has to be more than just rain. But is it a storm? Is it a ghost? A strange, sorry ghost that haunts the mountainside, its cries echoing against the high rocks. You think it's the rain at first. There's a sort of a whispering and a pattering, and then a squall picks up and it wails. And I suppose that's the junction in my mind where rain and Storm becomes Ghost. It's really an interesting idea, but kind of lonely. It's just this cat very high up on a mountain, watching for the weather, wondering just maybe waiting for some kind of spirit to come. Because if it answers the pleas of the dark rain, I get the feeling that it knows who or what the dark rain represents. A kind of spirit. An animal spirit. I think it's one of those where you'd need to start writing that, start describing what's going on, and then just see what happens, just what unfolds, and who or what this dark rain reveals when the cat comes out listening for it and answering its pleas. Actually, one of the themes that I've been thinking about for a collection of short stories is a watery theme. Because there have been quite a few different exquisite corpses that have come up along the way that will be about a pond, a lake, the sea, rain as well has cropped up. Be interesting just to start writing this and see where it goes. Right, I think we need to try one last exquisite corpse and see if this one ties up more neatly than the others, because these feel like beginnings of things. But I suppose that's always going to be the case, isn't it? This is from Paul Thomas. Ooh, shadowy. We have something or someone that is shadowy. Now what have we got? Oh, we've got several stuck together. Okay, this is from the person who's decided to call themselves Walk on Poo. And that's poo with an H at the end. Hippopotamus. I'll tell you what, a hippopotamus casts one hell of a shadow. A shadowy hippopotamus. Lots of animals coming up today. Right, let's get an action. This is from me. I don't remember writing this. Disguised themselves as a cleaner to meet. I honestly don't remember writing that. This must have been stuck at the bottom of the sock for a long time. Okay. Okay, this is gonna get really, really weird. Right. Paul Benfield has given us our next describing word, which is languid. Now, of course, languid could mean that you're unwilling to get up and do anything, or it might mean that you're unable to. Perhaps we'll see what comes out next. Right, last word. This is from Alessandro Bozzo. Manticore. Okay, I've written a note alongside of this because I obviously had to look it up. It's a creature with the head of a man, a body of a lion, and the sting of a scorpion. So we, oh gosh, I'm just looking at the whole thing now. We have a shadowy hippopotamus who disguised themselves as a cleaner to meet the languid manticore. Of course we do. Okay, so this might sound completely bonkers, so we're going to unbonkers it. Okay, these are definitely characters either side of the action. So shadowy hippopotamus. It's not going to be a hippopotamus, it's just too ridiculous. Okay, this has got to be a code name for someone. Okay, because it can't be, for example, a nightclub, a bookshop, a painting, because it's this is a person disguising themselves as a cleaner to meet the languid manticore. So I reckon these are two individuals. They are human, but they've got these weird code names, and I wonder why. I think they're involved in crime, and one of them is going to meet the other disguised as a cleaner. But who would call themselves a hippopotamus? Someone who's quite heavy, I suppose, or who loves water. Who would call themselves a manticore? Someone who has the body of a lion and the sting of a scorpion. I think that's probably the head of some gangster ring. Ah yes, someone who's languid, someone who doesn't lift a finger, gets other people to do things for them. But of course the hippopotamus person is shadowy as well, so this kind of works. I'm not sure how to approach this, because I'm not really a writer or a reader of crime and gangster stuff, but I really want to make something of this Exquisite Corpse. There's something in here. Why am I thinking about bathrooms? I think it's something to do with the hippo, a water-loving creature. Someone who likes baths. A shadowy person who likes baths. This has got to be one of the characters. And selling bathrooms is a front for something else. It seems unlikely, but I feel a little spark of something, so bear with me. Let's just see where this goes. Okay. So I'm thinking we need a slightly vulnerable character to start with. A hard-working mother. A single mother who likes baths. Maybe she's shadowy because she's got bags under her eyes. It's tough bringing up a boy on her own, and he's been waking up in the night with nightmares. The way he screamed last night sent a thrill right up her spine as she was lying in her bed. And for a split second, she had the horrible feeling that there was someone in her room, just standing there, watching her. She fumbled for her bedside lamp, but when it came on, there was no one there. Just shadows. Maybe this is why she's shadowy. Something is playing on her mind, on the shadows in her mind. After all, you shine a light on something and the shadows only deepen and darken. How to connect it to bathrooms? She gets a job in a bathroom showroom. It's just a little local shop, totally different to any job she's ever done before, but it's flexible hours and she gets to pick up her son after playgroup, and why not? She's always loved baths. So what if that's the only bit of expertise she can claim to this new job? It's just a sales job after all. But let's just say she's been working there a couple of weeks when she realises there's something about the director of the company that she doesn't like. She doesn't trust him. Let's call him Mr. Cohen. I don't know why, I just want a surname. We don't know his first name. But he's a sort of a snide, feet up on the desk kind of man. Presumptive. Dismissive. And in the morning, when our character, Charlie, she's dropped off her son at his playgroup, even as she just turns to go up the street towards her new job, she can feel that tension already building again. It's that place or it's Mr. Cohen. He was meant to come down from the headquarters in Liverpool just for a couple of days to do a general inspection of this small store, meet the new staff, that's Charlie, and discuss with her manager, let's call him Malcolm, how they were going to advertise this little shop and bring in more customers. Mr. Cohen was meant to share that back office with Malcolm for just 2 days, but they'd been there for almost a whole week now, and she was wondering what was going on. Something weird is going on with that man. She does not trust him. He smoked. He seemed to think that if he kept the little window open at the back office, that the smell wouldn't permeate the entire shop, but all that seemed to do was push the smell under the crack of the door, just to ensure there's like a constant trickle of smoky air. Charlie started bringing in scented candles, but she'd been told off by Malcolm for that. Fire hazard, as if smoking isn't a fire hazard. And now she was thinking that maybe she should suggest to Malcolm or whoever will listen to her that they sell fizzy bath bombs to, get rid of the horrible smell or cover it up with other really nice smells. And perhaps they could draw in more customers that way with the little demonstrations and get people thinking about bathrooms, and maybe they can sell some more bathrooms. But Mr. Cohen, he has a habit of not looking you in the eye. And Charlie had noticed this with women in particular, even female customers. She even started to wonder if he was annoyed with Malcolm for employing her. Mr. Cohen pretty much ignored her and pretended she didn't exist, yet he was always there in the background. And no matter how early Charlie got there, he was there in the office before anyone else. Even before she went in, she'd look through the front window past the displays of new shower heads and shiny new taps and things. She could see the light on in the back, glowing under the door, slightly hazy because of the smoke. She changed her morning route on the way to playgroup so she could walk past earlier. She even took her son to the park first so she could go past even sooner. And that's when she saw the cleaner rattling a handful of keys. Now remember the Exquisite Corpse. Let me have a look. The Exquisite Corpse is the shadowy hippopotamus disguised themselves as a cleaner to meet the languid manticore. The cleaner, who was just unlocking the door, didn't wear any uniform. She wore just plain clothes, a baseball cap, and a tired expression. She had independent access. No one questioned her. And with Mr. Cohen's attitude, she was as good as invisible. An idea struck Charlie so hard, she had to take a breath, and she had to gather herself together before she strode up to the woman. Just don't think about it, just do it. So Charlie tried to convince the cleaner there was no need for her to go in today. "They've asked me to do the cleaning today," she said, and realised immediately how ridiculous that sounded. "What?" The woman peered disbelievingly at Charlie. "Oh, I work here. I'm Charlie. Nice to meet you." She showed her staff badge with the shop logo on it, thinking, well, at least that's proof that I work here. The woman relaxed a bit, but was still baffled, wondering what was going on. "Oh, don't ask." Charlie waved it off. "His nibs thinks I need to get to know the store better. And yes, I did spill some scented candle wax yesterday, which I really ought to clean off. I hope you don't mind if I borrow these." She picked up the mop and bucket. "And just for fun, this?" She took the woman's cap right off her head and put it on her own, grinning like a thieving toddler. Why don't you take the hour off? Go get a coffee somewhere and come back in an hour's time to pick these things up." The cleaner hesitated, but she wasn't coming up with an argument. "Thanks so much," Charlie said before the woman could think of any other reason not to just shrug and walk away. It was a bit like selling. Sometimes you just had to present so many positive ideas in quick succession before the person had any time to think of reasons to get out of it. Charlie pulled the cap low on her head, tucked some of her hair underneath it so it looked shorter and different, and carried the mop and bucket across the shiny tiled floor. She knocked on the office door. "Cleaning." "Oh, okay, fine," muttered a male voice. There was a shuffling of papers and a desk drawer was slammed roughly. When he opened the door, she kept her head low and her back hunched as if she were older or more tired. She did a Mr. Cohen and didn't look him in the eye. But he probably didn't even notice anyway. He was more interested in the coffee machine round the corner. Charlie could not help but grin to herself. The powers of invisibility were hers. She swept the mop roughly around the room to leave evidence that she'd cleaned, in inverted commas, and slid the drawer open, all the time listening out for his footsteps on the tiles, in case he decided to come back in. A notebook with phone numbers in it, and first names or nicknames like Sash, Ace, Wix, and numbers next to them. They each had a K to mark thousands, like 5K, 8K, 9.5K. Underneath, amounts in cash, huge numbers. Was it drugs? A bathroom salesman, even the director of a chain of bathroom showrooms, doing drugs on the side? What next? What do I do? This is so different from anything I'd normally write and read. I want to throw in some magic, but I'm not sure how. Maybe I should just let it be entirely realistic and just see what happens. I don't know. I'd like to draw in something else. Like the child with his nightmares. He's picked up on something going on. Something's just not right. And maybe there really was someone in Charlie's room last night. I don't know why I thought of that idea right at the beginning, but sometimes you just have to follow these random whims because they're your mind's way of trying to reach for a sense of a mystery that needs to be solved, that somehow the rest of the story is going to pull together with various threads. And bathroom showrooms, of course. So there's got to be a connection there somewhere between maybe her ex-husband, the father of her boy, and this drug cartel. Or I could take the little boy's nightmares and Charlie's nighttime visitations or hallucinations, I guess, and turn this into some kind of dreampunk twist where the ex-husband is trying to get into Charlie's mind. He planted the idea of getting this particular job. It's so different from anything else she's ever done before. And it's a way of drawing her into something. Oh, but what? What? This will take more thought for sure. In case you hadn't guessed, I made good use of the pause button this time. Gotta love that pause button. I just had to give that last Exquisite Corpse a bit of extra time so I could come up with something. It takes time to come up with good story ideas and find ways to link things together. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's show and the last Exquisite Corpses of the year 2022. I can't believe it. But it's not over for this year. Please subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening on to make sure that you don't miss out on future shows, and make sure as well you have a chance to tune in to the final show of this year, where I'll read out my new short story, which will be finished by then, even if it is a bit of a draft, about the bear and the rediscovering portcullis on Christmas Eve. Well, if you're about to have a very busy Christmas break full of people and cooking and celebrations, my heart goes out to you. I have to relax. I do none of these things. Well, we see some people, but it's all low-key and relaxed and no pressure. It's the way to go, people. But anyway, if you're planning a very busy Christmas and Christmas Eve is just not going to be a possibility for sitting down and putting your feet up, then just save the show for a more quiet moment in the holidays, when all you need to do is settle back, relax, and listen to me telling you a story. Something to look forward to, I hope. A bit of comfort, a bit of coziness amid the mayhem of the holidays. Well, that's it for today's show. In the meantime, go forth and be inspired.